Nancy Guthrie revealed everything in the letter she left for her daughter, Savannah Guthrie. In the still, pre-dawn hours of a cold February morning in 2026, Nancy sat quietly at her simple wooden desk inside the home she had treasured for decades in the Catalina foothills. The burnt adobe house, tucked near Campbell Avenue and Skyline Drive in Tucson, Arizona, had long been her sanctuary, a place that had sheltered her through seasons of joy and sorrow. At 84 years old, her hands quivered faintly as she lifted her pen, the ink moving across the page in careful, deliberate strokes. This was not just another letter. It was a confession, an unguarded outpouring from a heart she had kept protected for most of her life. Written to her youngest daughter, Savannah Guthrie, the accomplished and driven anchor of NBC's Today Show, the words were honest, vulnerable, and shaped by the wisdom of a life fully experienced. My dearest Savannah, she began, I have carried so much in silence, smiling through storms and being strong for everyone else. But now, as the shadows grow longer, I must tell the truth. I was never as unbreakable as I appeared. The note was found several days later after Nancy's sudden disappearance captured national attention. What began as a missing person report on February 1st, 2026, quickly escalated into a disturbing investigation involving signs of a struggle inside her home and the unexplained disconnection of her pacemaker monitoring app. The search, led by the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, drew widespread media coverage, intensified by Savannah's emotional appeals on social media. In a heartfelt Instagram video, flanked by her siblings Annie and Cameron, Savannah pleaded, "Bring her home." The family offered financial rewards. The community gathered for prayer vigils at St. Philip's in the Hills Episcopal Church, while strangers across the country lifted up prayers for the safe return of a woman known for her faith and devotion. As the days stretched into a week, hope became intertwined with fear. Nancy's fragile health, her pacemaker, high blood pressure, heart complications, and reliance on daily medication made every passing hour increasingly urgent. She could not walk more than 50 yards without assistance. Yet she had disappeared without a single trace. The devastating outcome came on February 10th, 2026, when authorities announced that Nancy's body had been discovered in a remote area outside Tucson. Investigators believed she had been the victim of a kidnapping attempt that tragically went wrong. Details remained limited, but the sorrow was immeasurable. Amid an outpouring of sympathy and condolences, Savannah shared portions of the letter on Today, her voice trembling as she read her mother's final reflections. The note stripped away the layers of a life defined by quiet strength, steadfast faith, and burdens borne in silence. Nancy had not meant for the letter to serve as a farewell. It had been written as a private reflection, perhaps sensing her time was drawing near. Yet in death, it became her enduring legacy. A testament to the profound inner life of a woman who had given everything to her loved ones and her community. Nancy Ellen Long entered the world on January 27, 1942, in Fort Wright, Kentucky, a small town just across the Ohio River from Cincinnati. The world was engulfed in World War II at the time, but inside the modest home of her parents, William and Jane Long, life was marked by simplicity and Midwestern principles. Fort Wright, with its gentle hills and close-knit neighborhoods, was a place where community bonds ran deep, church bells rang every Sunday, and potluck gatherings brought families together. Nancy, the eldest child, was a cherubic little girl with round cheeks, curly hair, and striking blue eyes that would become a family hallmark for generations. Her childhood unfolded during the hopeful post-war decades of the 1940s and 1950s, when America was rebuilding and optimism filled the air for those willing to work diligently. Growing up in northern Kentucky, Nancy's upbringing was firmly rooted in Catholic tradition. She attended St. Agnes Elementary School, where disciplined nuns instilled in her the values of faith, service, and academic excellence. She would later remind her children that education opened doors they might never even realize existed. In 1959, she graduated from Notre Dame Academy, an all-girls Catholic high school in Park Hills, Kentucky, known for its demanding academics and strong moral foundation. The school shaped her character and sharpened her intellect while nurturing her early love of writing and storytelling. Friends remembered her as spirited, quick-witted, and enthusiastic about putting words on paper. She participated in school activities, perhaps debate or literary clubs, though many of those details survived mainly in family recollections rather than official records. Kentucky's rolling bluegrass landscape and vibrant traditions left a permanent imprint on her. She cherished the excitement of horse races at Keeneland, the warmth of Southern hospitality, and the resilient spirit of her home state. Her life began to take clearer shape at the University of Kentucky, where she enrolled in the early 1960s to study journalism. She was drawn to the transformative power of words, their ability to inform, uplift, and connect people. Joining the staff of the Kentucky Kernel, the university's student newspaper, she rose to the role of society editor. The position allowed her to cover social gatherings, weddings, and community events with an eye for nuance and empathy. Her editor during 1962. 63, Jack Guthrie, no relation, later praised her talent, noting her gift for elevating ordinary moments into meaningful stories. It was also during college that she met Charles Errol Guthrie on a blind date arranged by friends. Charles, a mining engineering student from Pinneville, Kentucky, who had graduated from Georgia Tech, first took her to a University of Kentucky basketball game. An essential Wildcats tradition. His quiet assurance and adventurous spirit captivated her. Though she later described it as love at first sight, she admitted to Savannah that she tried to appear composed. They dated throughout her college years, dreaming together about travel and family. Nancy earned her degree from UK, a symbol of independence at a time when many women were expected to prioritize marriage over careers. On December 28, 1963, Nancy and Charles married in a graceful yet simple ceremony in Kentucky. The Cincinnati Enquirer announced their wedding, highlighting her university education and his engineering profession. Their marriage was grounded in shared faith, mutual respect, and a readiness to embrace wherever life might lead. Charles's career as a mining engineer carried them across various U.S. locations and eventually overseas. In 1971, while they were living in Melbourne, Australia, Nancy gave birth to their youngest child, Savannah Clark Guthrie, on December 27th, just one day before their 8th wedding anniversary. Nancy would later tell Savannah that her arrival completed their family, which already included older siblings Annie and Cameron. 2 years later, in 1973, the family relocated to Tucson, Arizona. Attracted by Charles's career opportunities and the promise of southwestern sunshine, they made their home in a burnt adobe house in the Catalina foothills, surrounded by desert beauty and peaceful affluence. Tucson became their permanent home and the place where Nancy flourished as both mother and community figure. In those early Tucson years, Nancy devoted herself fully to raising her children, instilling love, discipline, and faith. Savannah later reflected that God was the sixth member of their household. Family baptisms deepened their spiritual foundation, marking pivotal moments of devotion. Life initially felt idyllic. Hiking in the Santa Catalina Mountains, hosting neighborhood barbecues, and participating actively in church life. Nancy volunteered at schools, coordinated community gatherings, and became known for her kindness and organizational talents. Then, in 1988, tragedy struck. Charles suffered a fatal heart attack at just 49 while traveling for business in Mexico. Nancy, only 46, was suddenly widowed with 3 teenagers. Savannah, then 16, described it as having the rug pulled out from under them. Yet Nancy met the crisis with remarkable resolve. She suppressed her own grief to steady her children. To provide for the family, she returned to work in public relations at the University of Arizona, a role that also enabled her daughters to attend tuition-free. Colleagues remembered her professionalism, warmth, and composure. Her journalism training proved invaluable as she crafted communications and managed media relationships. Beyond her professional work, Nancy remained deeply committed to family and community. She became an active member of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church and later Episcopal congregations, organizing prayer groups, supporting widows, and mentoring younger women. Friends described her as a faithful and uplifting presence. As her children matured, her pride in them only grew. Savannah's career path held special significance. Encouraged by her mother to pursue journalism at the University of Arizona, Savannah graduated magna cum laude in 1993 and began her broadcasting journey locally before rising to national prominence at NBC, eventually becoming co-anchor of Today in 2012. Throughout it all, Nancy stood as her steadfast supporter, attending weddings and celebrating grandchildren. Vale and Charlie. Even as age and health challenges made travel difficult. In her later years, Nancy found joy in grandmotherhood but faced increasing health struggles. Living alone in her beloved Catalina foothills home, she was surrounded by reminders of her life. Photographs of Charles, Savannah's Emmy Awards, and her grandchildren's drawings. Faith remained her constant companion. However, high blood pressure, heart complications, and the presence of a pacemaker limited her mobility. Despite pain and vulnerability, she rarely voiced complaint. In her note, she admitted that she had hidden fears behind smiles, worried about finances after Charles's death, and questioned whether she was enough as a mother. She reflected on the dreams she set aside, expressing no regret for motherhood but wishing she had been gentler with herself. She acknowledged burying grief and mistaking endurance for strength. She confessed to concealing health fears so as not to burden Savannah's busy life in New York. Most tenderly, she wrote of their bond. She cherished their shared understanding of loss and valued the friendship that had grown alongside their mother-daughter relationship. She expressed gratitude for Savannah's kindness and for the light her grandchildren brought into her life, If her letter were to be her final words, she wanted to be remembered as fair, genuine, and faithful. She believed that kindness endured longer than fame, and that surviving life's noise with integrity might have been the true victory. Nancy's death left her family devastated, but her letter offered comfort and clarity. In honoring her mother on Today, Savannah spoke of faith, resilience, and love, reminding viewers that even the strongest carry unseen burdens. Vigils became memorials. Tucson grieved the loss of a cherished community member. Nancy's legacy lives not in headlines, but in the lives she shaped. From her Kentucky beginnings to Arizona sunsets, she lived with dignity and devotion, leaving behind a confession that revealed her whole truth and ensured her story would continue to inspire.